Welcome back to The Evil Within. This is our None More Dark achievement run. It's the consequence on Kurayami mode. We're about maybe a third of the way into chapter 3 of the DLC. There's going to be some notes and some ghostly conversations here that I will wait to catch you up with where we were from the last episodes until after those.
His demeanor has turned far too aggressive and his techniques even more perverse. Da Vinci would dissect corpses to further his anatomical studies, but what Ruben has done goes beyond. Demanding his subjects be aware as he dissects them to truly see how the mind reacts. He's more of a butcher than an artist. But we must remain scientists above all. I had taught him from a young age that the end shall justify the means, but I could not have predicted things to be this extreme. Mobius has learned of his involvement due to my carelessness. I've asked they bring him on board to assist in development. Perhaps offering him better facilities and support will refocus him and stave off his gruesome proclivities.
This machine was designed for me. People like you. You took my life away. Turned me into an abomination. Finally, with this machine, I can go back. I can live the life I was supposed to have.
We are forgiving. We are willing to overlook your certain peculiarities for what you can provide us. But you are testing our limits. Our manpower, our resources are not here for your pathetic fantasy. You will reverse the calibration on the machine so we can use it without you.
And what if I say no? You think Jimenez can fix this? You need me, and there's no way around it.
Ruvik. No. Ruben. This was where he was doing his research with us. We were just using him. And I doubt he's the first.
At the end of the last episode, there was a conversation, well, not really a conversation, there was a soliloquy. The administrator was telling Kidman that Ruben was a serial killer walking around masquerading as a scientist, etc. And here he's talking about that they were willing to overlook some of his peculiarities. In the last message, they had said it was a compromise of their ethics. Well, I mean, you can see the compromise of the ethics. I tried to throw a glowing light on the table there. The compromise in ethics was they were willing to have people dissected there with their brains still alive on a table as Ruben probed them so that they could get this technology. That's their compromise. I want to talk about this encounter with Shade here. You don't have time to look back. You can't look back at all. There's just no time for it. And you need to run as close to that corner as you can. As soon as you get around the corner, you need to pause for a moment so that you can orient your camera towards the end of the hall. And you've got to spatially keep track of where you are so that you turn the camera where you're pointed towards the end of the hall, then start running again. That pause gives you enough time for your stamina to recoup where you'll be able to make it all the way to the end of the hall. Once you're in this room, you need to go straight to that hand scanner and get your hand scanned. As soon as that happens, you need that you have to be there immediately. And then once you're past that, then duck down and get in that little divider area that I was in. Get there. And you just have to watch. She goes in different paths. You just need to make sure that when the thing says the door is open, that you can look in there, and that depending on which way she goes, you may have to come at it a different path. But as soon as the door is open and fully open, you need to get through it. But if you can crouch walk through it like we did, you're better off, because then you have time to throw a stick in the next room to figure out where the corner is to get around it. If you immediately stand up and run, she'll hear you and she'll be right behind you, and you don't have time to throw the stick then. When you get into the server room, my suggestion is throw a stick there so that you can kind of keep track of where things are. Throw a stick there where it's between the aisles, and then one all the way down by the end, that's by the hand reader. You can only have 3 of them out at a time, and those 3 can help keep you oriented in the places you need to be. Now, how this works, I don't know, but just stay crouched there, just stay sunk up against the corner, and you can see she's looking right over you. I mean, she's standing right in front of you, looking right past you, so I can't guarantee that will always work. I can only guarantee that it did work for me this time. Now your goal is to follow. She's going to go down there where the hand scanner was. You can see kind of the red lights in the darkness. Your glow is helping keep track of where she is. Crouch all the way over to it. You have to stand up to do the. As soon as you press the A to do it, she will stand up. And now, depending on where she is, see, I got slightly seen as I backed away from the thing. Now, the path she took, as soon as you get seen like that, her light will turn red. You need to get around the corner as quickly as you can, and then duck. And you're best off if you just go in as tight of circles as you can. If she's chasing you, she's going to where she last saw you. So immediately turning and going in the opposite direction and getting behind her is the safest place. Now wait a second, even though it said it was done, because I'm not at the front. So now I'm going back down to the front, and see how the glow sticks are keeping you oriented. They're on my right over here, so you know that the elevator's now in front. And as soon as you can see the elevator's open, get through it.
Guess I'm all right for now.
All right, so lots of fun. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Jimenez's tape there. That was number 120. You can see that's before. It was around tape. We're going to find tape 209, I believe, later on. The tape 120 was saying that, again, the arrogance, the kind of egotistical view of Jimenez, that he can, maybe by bringing Ruben to Mobius and having him work there, that he can shut down some of those more gruesome proclivities. That's the same sort of horror that he expressed in the main game when Sebastian saw the ghostly conversation between Dr. Jimenez and Ruben at the time. It was related to the horrors that Jimenez found were perpetrated on the villagers of Elk River, the villagers that burned the barn that took Laura away from Ruben and disfigured Ruben. When Ruben was talking to the administrator, that's what he was referring to. People like you villagers, you external people have burned me, have taken my life away, took Laura away from me, and disfigured me horribly. That conversation between Ruben and the administrator is the last point, and that was the last point where he did not do what Jimenez wanted him to do. He did not fix it. He did not do what the administrator ordered him to do. He did not fix it. That was his last chance to not become Ruben. He was stubborn to the end, and we know what happened. They dissected him and turned him into Ruben. We're going to see that actually in this episode here in just a few minutes, and we're going to see the shock and horror that Jimenez has over it. I guess Jimenez truly believed he could get Ruben to capitulate and to unlock the system. Now, we were talking in the last episode, and we've been talking through all of the Akumu and the Kurayami theories about the 10% of life that happens to you and your 90% response. That how through most of the main game, that was the 10% was represented in the fear that Ruvik would throw at the people that got connected to the system.
What have you done to Ruben? Show me!
Keep your emotions out of this, Jimenez. He brought this upon himself. We gave him a chance.
Where is he?
If you really wish to know, he's in the next room. Come, see.
Get those eyes. And you get your flashback here your flashback. You get your flashlight back here, and now you can actually switch between them using the X button. You can switch between glow sticks and the flashlight. That's the first time that's happened to me, and I didn't really understand what I was seeing. But now I have glow sticks and I want my flashlight back. But then it starts to dawn on me that having both is such a huge tool. You can light up the room by throwing the glow sticks around and then spotlight something specific with the flashlight. It would have made the last scene in the server room trying to get maneuver around in there probably a lot easier than it was with just the glow sticks. But it's an X, and I finally figured out here. I finally read it's an X. They can switch back and forth, flashlight, and go back to the glow sticks. Okay. All right. So Kidman's. We've talked about how on the outside of STEM, that Leslie's response to the trauma of having his family killed in front of him, murdered in front of him, was to learn how to wall himself off from the rest of the world internally, pull completely away from the world. That Ruben's response was anger, hatred, and that leading to a need for vengeance. That we talked about Sebastian's response being the kind of self-responsibility, individual responsibility, begetting his individual freedom, which gives him the power, the mental fortitude that he has, that he demonstrates in the main game. Kidman, we talked about the village that she grew up in, that when the plague hit, some of the people lost all their hope. That's equivalent to the haunted. Their response to the 10% of the plague that killed the livestock was to kill themselves, the ultimate surrender, the no hope scenario. That then within the 2 years, a church had moved in, and a lot of the villagers, including Kidman's parents, put their trust. They gave their 90% away by looking for external salvation, looking to that church to provide for them what they couldn't provide themselves and what they didn't see anybody else providing. So that external means of response led them to neglect. It led them to the mercy, basically, of the church. Within just a few years, the village is completely gone.
This is despicable. What is this monstrosity?
Despicable? Coming from the man using his own patients to further his own research? The irony of this situation is amusing. But even you must realize what we can do with this.
This means STEM will run. We can continue the experiments.
And your assistance is even more necessary than before.
This whole project, from the beginning, it was about deceit.
Now Kidman finally sees what Ruvik had been telling her, that they tore me apart. They took what they needed. They took his brain. They thought that would unlock the STEM, a physical key to a physical lock. But what they also got was the consciousness, the soul. And STEM has become we saw in the letter that we put together in the assignment, the first DLC, that STEM is now the hardware of Ruben's soul. He is now fully conscious, fully cognizant inside of STEM. His consciousness is omnipresent inside of STEM. The irony goes deeper than was implied there. The irony is that Ruben was doing that to the Elk River villagers. He was doing that to the Beacon Hospital patients, where he was dissecting their brain. He was taking from them everything they had, and he was okay with that. But now it's happened to him. The irony is deep.
I saw what they have done to him, and I am appalled. To think the young boy I mentored is now this. A mass of gray matter in a glorified test tube. Could they have been planning this all along? And what have I become in all of this? They've managed to keep his mind alive by simulating an artificial body. His consciousness is being confined to a mental straitjacket, a gear in their infernal machine. They have even stricken his name and humanity, referring to him by an anagram, Ruvik. A crude joke, as if spitting on his grave. I almost felt the urge to smash the case and end it right there. But my anger was quickly replaced by scientific curiosity. Ruben's legacy will live on. I will spearhead the next step. I will create something of my own out of this tragedy.
Now, we saw in the first tape that we read today, or that was read to us today,
What you see here is one of the first STEM prototypes. It requires a physical connection from user to host. But Beacon houses a newer version with a wireless transmitter. All the user hears is a high-pitched tone, and they're connected. We've gotten word Jimenez is prepping for unauthorized usage. We would like the trial run to be on our terms, not his.
That sound in the patrol car must have been when Jimenez activated it. Joseph, Sebastian, Oscar. They were all pulled in with me. The stem and beacon. That's where it all started. There must be a way to get out of this world from there.
now she's mentioning the foot race to Beacon that we've been talking about.
There are some things here that are to remain in the dark. Especially for you, kid. You're asking too many questions, ignoring your mission. Running from responsibility. Just like you always do.
No, that's not true. You don't know me.
That much is obvious. But we need to make sure you do what you're told.
You're lying to me, hiding things. I can't trust you, not like this.
You are not required to trust us. Only to obey.
All right, so let's talk a little bit through those tapes again and that latest interaction with the administrator. In the tapes, we saw that at a young age, when he was mentoring Ruben at a young age, Dr. Jimenez told him that the ends shall justify the means. That leads to the same sort of compromises of ethics that the administrator alluded to earlier in the episode. And then that leads to the final thing there with the administrator saying, you're not required to trust, you're only required to obey. Once you have given your consent over to an entity, they no longer require anything from you other than for you to continue to give your 90% to them, for you to obey their instructions. We were talking about how Cedar Hill Village, where Kidman grew up, had gone from some total loss of hope and had killed themselves, some into external hope to the church that came in, and that led to the village dissipating and going away. Kidman's response to that was, at a young age of 14, she decided that she could manage her own life. Now, you could say that's very similar to Sebastian saying, I'm going to be responsible for myself. I'm going to believe in myself, and I'm going to take ownership of my 90%. And she did that. She left. She took ownership of her life. That isn't always, just taking ownership isn't necessarily the end result. It may not generate the end result that you're hoping for. Let's have one more conversation with the administrator and we'll go back to that concept there.
You were assigned to your team for a reason. Castellanos, Oda, they know nothing. But they're searching for answers.
Searching for us, you mean?
One of us. But this may be our chance to remove them. Having all of you in one place will provide us with opportunities.
So just like Jimenez has the arrogance to believe that he can always rely on himself, he puts his trust in himself as well, right? But that arrogance, that overconfidence leads to bad places. That overconfidence at 14 led Kidman to a life of crime. She was about to go into a wasteland of eternally going in and out of jail, a life of crime and a wasted life. But she turned her...
Why am I here?
She turned her 90%, her response to life, that neglect that she felt as a child, she turned that to Mobius and gave them control when they offered to fill the gap, the hole, the void that was left by the village and the neglect of her parents. Jimenez did the same thing. He was looking for adoration, promotions, monetary rewards for his efforts. He traded what little ethics he might have had over to Mobius. Ruben never compromised. Ruben never gave up his 90%. He took it, the little bit that he may have given to Jimenez and to Mobius, he took back when he keyed the stim system to his own brainwaves. So even though you can take it back, that doesn't necessarily mean that taking it back is going to work, right? Because Mobius certainly got the end result there. They took everything from him. Kidman is now in a similar position to where Ruvik was, right? They're wanting her to compromise her ethics. That same sort of the ends shall justify the means. They're wanting her to compromise her ethics. They're wanting her to, if you paid attention in that last conversation, remove Joseph and Sebastian. That them all being inside of STEM at the same time is an opportunity for their problem to go away. That would imply that Kidman is to kill them. This is her subconscious reflecting on what that might mean.
How's Lily doing?
Great. Everything's going fine. Just wish my wife would be home more to take care of her.
She barely took maternity leave, huh? One of Crimson's finest, I suppose. She's a great cop in her own right, but we can manage without her for a little longer.
You should hope she doesn't hear you say that, or you'll be out in your ass, Joseph.
This looks like it's way before I got here. Everyone's so much younger. But Sebastian's profile didn't say he was married. Let alone
The desk is a little cluttered, but look how organized really everything looks. It looks like Sebastian's working at the top of his game. He's in full form and function there. There are a lot of missing people. If you look really closely at the missing person's posters, you'll notice that some of them look an awful lot like the haunted that we've been encountering. This grandmother in particular up at the top left of that board is the grandmother with the knife. But this is her subconscious reflecting on what it might mean. The two people that they're asking her to kill, her subconscious is going, this isn't just... You can't just justify the killing of these two people just because they're in the way. The other thing I want to point out about that is that we've heard now three different times. We've heard a female investigator was bothering Jimenez, and that Mobius said they would take care of it. That female police officer was Myra Castellanos, Sebastian's wife. It's not said explicitly, but we can be 99.999% sure of that. The second time we heard it mentioned was Mobius saying they're looking for one of us. That's the problem. That the reason Joseph and Sebastian are a problem is because they're looking for one of Mobius's own. That's a strong indication that is also Myra. And now here we see that Kidman, as she just heard Joseph and Sebastian, the ghosts of them, talking about Lily, the daughter, and the wife, Myra, not taking much time off of work. That's the clear indication she was a police officer. We knew she was a police officer. She was Sebastian's partner when he first became a detective. So it's worth pointing out that the Myra trail here. But Kidman didn't even realize that Sebastian had been married nonetheless as a kid.
Look, Seb, we need to talk. Going off with your conspiracy theories, you're getting out of control. You don't pull that in front of the captain.
I'm onto something, Joseph. I don't need you hiding shit from me, too.
I'm not, Sebastian. I'm trying to help. I want to help, but you need to think about this carefully. Your daughter, it was a loss everyone on the force felt. But your wife is...
Myra left, Joseph. She left. When we needed each other the most, Myra left me. What would make her do that? I have to know. I don't care what it costs.
His daughter, then his wife? One right after the other? No wonder he always seemed so closed off.
Now we know the house fire happened when Lily was around 5. So we've moved about 6 years ahead in time here from when, at least 5 years, probably close to 6 years ahead in time from the first ghost conversation. Look how, the coat rack's knocked over, the coat's laying on the floor, there's papers all over the floor. The ashtray on the desk was just overflowing with cigarettes. It's tearing Sebastian apart. This would have been at the time when she had left, and the department was saying, it's not a missing person, she left you because of your drinking.
Julie Kidman? She barely has any experience, and we don't even know anything about her. Send her out canvassing witnesses then. Let her see the streets.
No, she's coming with us. I'm going to train her. She's my responsibility.
Look, I know you say it's personal, and I don't like to talk about it, but we can't have your misplaced guilt leading to rookies slowing us down.
Sebastian. He and Joseph weren't supposed to be involved. It shouldn't have happened like this.
You've been on assignment for a week. How has it been?
Observe and report, just like you ordered. It's surreal to be on the other side after all I've been through.
Any signs of anything?
Nothing yet. I'm not about to be caught snooping around the classified room while I'm still on probation, so I can't get what they have on us.
Just earn their trust. That's all you can do now. It'll take a while, but in the end, they will let you in.
I didn't know all these police officers were characters, though. Guess the tough, hard-boiled detective stereotype is still going strong.
Our reports on Oda are that he doesn't let things slide, so be extra careful around him.
Will do, though I can't imagine us getting along well.
And Detective Castellanos. Anything you have to share on him?
Seems drunk half the time, but at least he's considerate. Is he really the one people are concerned about? He seems almost harmless.
He is known to get emotional. Just make sure to give him his space. Respect him as your superior.
Now you remember we found a Sebastian note in the main game that said that Kidman always seemed a little off, that she was there more watching them than learning from them. And that was the truth. She was sent there to investigate and to spy on them. Now look, the ashtray has, it's got more ashes in it than the first one, but you can see that Sebastian was pulling his life back together as hard as it was. This is probably after he got the note from his wife saying that you need to find justice for Lily and I. And that's what led him to investigate Mobius, because he was falling down the same path that she was going on, which we know had led her to Dr. Jimenez. So
This is Crimson?
now we understand how she was originally in this role, but she was recruited to spy on them, not to kill them. And she was probably okay with the compromise of spying on them. It didn't seem too much of a compromise of her ethics, but killing him, that's a whole different story. She's already carrying with her the guilt. She thinks she's already killed Joseph. And now she's thinking, maybe I should just avoid being around Sebastian. I won't have to kill him. They can't force me to kill him. All right, so we've talked about that Kidman seems to have given her 90% over to Mobius and when they offered to fill the void of her neglected childhood. But we see that how giving that external savior status to an entity or a person or an organization like Mobius can lead to compromising situations. The important thing about the story of Kidman's story is to remember that she still owns that consent. She can't give it completely away. It's still hers. We'll see you in the conclusion of Chapter 3 in the next video. Thanks for watching.